JQuery HTML manipulation, and this video has something to do with dimensions, and this is the last part or part 6 of this lecture series. So JQuery dimension methods. So JQuery has several important methods for working with dimensions. So these are the width, the height, the innerWidth, innerHeight, outerWidth, and outerHeight. So here we can see here the box model, and the element, that's the width of the element itself, and the innerWidth means the width of the element plus the padding. The outerWidth is the width of the element plus the padding plus the size of the border. The outerWidth through includes the margin, and the same is true with height. So this is the element, so we have here the height of the element, and then if we include the padding, that's the innerHeight. If we include the size of the border, that's the outerHeight, and if we include the margins, that's outerHeight then with through a parameter. jQuery width and height methods. The width method sets or returns the width of an element, excludes padding, border, and margin. The height method sets or returns the height of an element, and also it excludes padding, border, and margin. So in this example, let's say we have a button and we click the button, then we declare the variable text, and text is equal to this text width, then we join with the width of this division, and then we join with a break, a line break, and then we have this text, so plus equals, that means we're joining these three texts. So we join height plus the height of the division, and then inside the division, that HTML text, so we're going to display the height and the width of the division inside this division also. So innerWidth and innerHeight. The innerWidth method returns the width of an element, and it includes padding, and the innerHeight method returns the height of an element and includes padding also. So let's say here in this example, so very similar with the example of previously, but instead of using just width or height, we use innerWidth and innerHeight, and then display the output. So we can use this one to get the width and height. The outerWidth and outerHeight method also returns the width of an element that includes padding and border. And the outerHeight, the same, returns the height of an element including the padding and the border. So in this example again, similar with the previous one, except that instead of innerWidth or innerHeight, we use outerWidth and outerHeight. Again, the difference here of innerWidth and outerWidth is the size of the border, or the width of the border and height of the border also. OuterWidth and outerHeight method. So outerWidth with true parameter returns the width of an element that includes the padding, the border, and the margin. The outerHeight true also method returns the height of an element that includes the padding, the border, and the margin. So again, the example here is similar with that of a while ago, but instead of just innerWidth or outerWidth or whatever, or outerWidth or outerHeight rather, then we just include the true parameter. So we have here also more on jQuery height and width. The following example returns the width and height of the document and window. So the document is the HTML document, and the window is the browser viewport. So here, document width or height. So we just select the document, then dot width. Then here, document, and then the height. So this will display, for example, 300 times or 300 by, and then the height. Then the next one, so \n, that means we have a line break also. So window height, so that's width by the height of the window, and then we display it in using an alert box. So this will always add the text. Set width and height element. So we can also set the height and width of an element by using the width and the height. So in this example, if you click on the button, the division will set the width and the height. So here is an example. Document ready. So if you click on the button, it will set the width and the height. So let's say originally the division has this height and width. So then if you click on the button, it will change the height and width. So let's say, for example, this is the original division. So once we click on this button, it changes the height and the width of the division. Okay, so let's try again to have a live demo for this. So let's open my Notepad++. Where's my... Let's close this one first. Okay, so I'll open my template. File, open. So this is my folder template with CDN, using CDN. So this is now using CDN. And then what? Let's try to create a division. So div1. We include the width, for example, is 300px. Height is 200. Height is 350px or 250px. Background color, let's say light blue. Border, let's say solid black 5px. Then margin 10px, for example. Then we have with the division, the class equals, or that's an ID. Now let's use ID rather than a class. So I use an ID. ID equals div1 slash div. Then let's place here a button. Okay, that's the lazy way of thinking for the caption. Just use click me. Then I'll save this. Save as JQuery HTML demo 6 HTML. Okay, so let's try to first take a look at the initial output. So that's our initial output. We have here the division. Then if you click on the button, for example, we have here button that click function. So click variable text plus equals, let's say the width is equal to plus then the width of division 1 dot width. Height. Okay. Okay, so what we did here is we have a variable blank, and then we joined the width, and then we get the value of the width of the division. Then here we get the height of the division. Also, we added this prompt, then line break. Then all we have to do now is to display that inside our division. The HTML. So we have here text. Okay, so let's try. Hopefully you have no syntax error. So refresh. So click here. So there, the height is 290 and the width is 240. But you notice I use 300 and 250. So the 10 is the default padding. So let's use here outer width, outer height, and let's already include to make the demo shorter. Outer width true, outer height true. Then we place here outer width, outer height, outer width 2 and outer height 2. So that includes the margins. Okay, so let's try. So refresh. If I click on this button, so you notice this is the element. 300 by 250 is the outer width. That means it already includes the padding and the border. And the outer width through is 320, so that includes the margins. Do we have innerWidth? Yes, I believe we have innerWidth. See, that's a problem with my memory. Okay. So refresh. That's it. So innerWidth, innerHeight. Since we don't have any element maybe inside, so it's the same. And then that means we have 0 padding. So you notice here that this one is there are no spaces in between here. Let's try to add padding. And let's see the difference. So I added a padding of 5. So now these two are the same. So let's try to refresh. Click. So you notice here now that there are some changes because of the padding. So 5 and 5. So there's a padding of 10. So here we can see some sort of space here. So that's 10 px, 10 pixels. Let's create another button. But I should place here an ID now. Because so that I can determine which button I click. So I have to place an ID. So instead of just button here, I have to specify the ID of the button. Button 1. And then I'm going to have another button. Button 2. Click. And then inside this one will be the function. And here's where I'm going to place the function. So let's say I'm going to change the height and width of the division. Div1, that height, let's say we change the height to 500 px, and the width to let's say 600 px. To refresh, so click me, and then let's click it again. So you notice this was now changed because I have changed also the width and height when I click this button. Okay, so let's take a second look at the code. So what this code will do is to change the height and the width of division 1. So if we click on this, this will display the dimensions of our element, which is actually the division 1. And the division 1 was primarily formatted using this CSS. So again, I hope that more or less the functions or these methods are now clear to you. So thank you very much for viewing this video.